Today we are going to discuss about system testing. Let's see the definition of system testing. It is defined as a testing phase connected on a complete integration system to evaluate the system complaints with its specified requirements. So it is a type of testing which is performed a complete integrated system to evaluate the compliance of the systems. Okay, and then next is uh, some different types of system testings are performance or load testing, scalability testing, reliability testing, stress testing, interoperability testing, and then localization testing. Let's see the types of testings in briefly. First one is performance or load testing. It is to evaluate the time taken giving response of a system. And the next one is a scalability testing. It need number of resources to to final capability of a system values. These are the capability testing. It is used to find a maximum capability of a system values. Its parameter is nothing but values. And then third one is reliability testing. It evaluates the ability of a system to perform the functions for a specific period of a time. So in reliability testing, we can evaluate the ability of a system performance functions in a certain time. Okay. And the next one is the stress testing. It evaluates the system limits of a resources such as space, memory, processors to ensure the system does not break down any expectedly. So it is a testing to evaluate the system limits, space, memories, etc. Okay. And the next one is interoperability testing. It is to ensure that two or more products can exchange the information. So it is nothing but it check whether the software can interact and share the information. So it is called as an interoperability testing. Next one is localization testing. It is to verify the product in a different languages. That means in this testing, we can test a particular region or a culture. So that is we call it as a localization testing. And then next one is why is system testing is done. So what are the purpose of doing a system testing? So it provide the independent perspectives of a testing, and then it also brings customer perspective. That means customer view of a project, and then it provide a fresh pair of eyes. What's the meaning of fresh pair of eyes means? It is to help. It helps to keep the knowledges to the end user concern. So a fresh pair of eyes means it need to keep the knowledge of end users perspectives. Okay, and that is we call it as an fresh pair of eyes, and then it is done to test the product behavior in a complete manner. Okay, so these are the things in why we need the system testings. So additionally, it tests both functional and non-functional aspects of a product, and also it builds the product confidence, and it reduces and analyzes the risk of a product. It analyzes the risk, and we can easily reduce the risk of a problem, and then it also ensures all the requirements are met for ready for a acceptance testing. And once again, the system testers can identify all the requirements are met. That means user requirements are all satisfied. So these are the things why we need the system testings. Okay. And then next one is, why do you verify a system testing? What are the things we are going to verify a system testing? It is a fully integrated and an external part of a external peripherals of a systems, and then it is also called as an end-to-end testing scenario. So system testing is also called as an end-to-end testing scenarios, and then it verify the product input, and what are the inputs we give it do the some certain calculations, and it provide the desired outputs of a system. And the next one is a system testing hierarchy. It's a hierarchy of software testing. First, it's an unit testing, and then integration. After that, system testing. At final stage, the acceptance testing will be done. Okay. And the next one is some of the few steps to carry out the preparation. So first one is an unit testing, and then it is performed on each module or block of a code during the development. Unit testing is normally done by the programmer who writes the code. Unit testing, it is nothing but it is an individual component of a software, and then it is done by the programmer who can able to write a coding. We call it as a programmer. So the programmer uh, verify the unit testing. Next one is integration testing. It is done before, during, and after integration of a new module into the main software packages, and then it also involves testing of each individual code module. One piece of software can contain several modules which are often created by a different programmers. So it is mainly focused on determining the correctness of interfaces. So it is, we call it as an integration testing. And then next one is system testing. It is done by the professional testing agent on a completed software product before it is introduced to the market. So in system testing, uh, it mainly evaluate the compliance of the system of a product. So that is, we call it as a system testing. And then last one is acceptance testing. It is a last phase of a system testing to be performed, and then it is done by end user. End user is nothing but customer. Okay, this acceptance testing is done by the end user or a customer. And then next one is, what are the types of a system testing should testers use? So testers will handle the system testing. No. So what are the things the tester want to do? So first one is who the tester works for, and then this is a major factor in determining the type of a system testing a tester will use. Methods used by a large companies are different than that used by medium and small companies. So it is nothing but testers works for small and medium companies when compared to large companies. So when compared to large company projects, the tester can easily identify the benefits and advantages and disadvantages when compared to large companies. Easily small and medium companies can do. So it is a user testers work for. And then next one is time available for testing, and then it is ultimately, all 50 testing types could be do. Time is often what limits us to using only the type that are most relevant to the software project. So it is nothing but it is how they are going to plan to complete the work in a period of time. So it needs to collect failures, solve the problems in a certain period of time. So it is, we can time available for testing is nothing but how the time the project when the project will be completed. If the project is completed, what are the errors will be occurred. So these are all the points will carry out in time available for testing. So next one is resources available to the tester. So of course some testers will not have the necessary resources to conduct the testing. So in some testers does not have any resources to conduct the to test a project. No. So the tester needs some of the main resources, like uh, they need to have templates, memories, disk spaces. These are the things the testers know must have these details. Okay, so that is the things in resources available to the tester. After, the fourth one is software testers education. So here the tester need to know how to test a project. So that much of it, that much of knowledge must have the system testers must have. Next one is testing budget. It makes sure that the project is released on a time and runs without any interruptions. That is, we call it as a testing budgets. Okay. And then next one is functional testing. In system testings, we are having two different types of testings. One is functional testing and another one is a non-functional testing. Okay. Let's see the details about functional testing. It involves testing a product functionality and features. So it mainly focus on product functionality and features of a project. So that's the mainly functional testing focused. So it ensures the functions and functionalities of applications that works properly or not. Okay. So it is performed at different phases and focus on product level features. So it tests the functionalities of an application. If we test the product functionality, two problems will be occurred. So one is duplication, another one is a gray area. What's duplication means? Same test performed multiple times. If a one test is performed multiple tests means that is we call it as a duplication error. Second one is gray area. It's certain test missed out in all the phases. That means some um, some test will be missed to carry out in all the phases means some testing, that means unit testing, it may be a black box testing or it may be a white box testing, some test will be missed out, so that is we call it as a gray area. Okay, next one is what are the techniques available in functional testing means. First one, designing or architecture verification, business vertical testing, deployment testing, beta testing, and certification standards or testing for a compliance. These are the techniques available in functional testing. Okay. Next one is design or architecture verification. So it is a process of evaluating the software product for extract the requirements of an end users. Okay. It test cases are developed and checked against the design and architecture to see they are actual product level test cases. So it mainly focus on code logic, data structure and unit of a product, and then it specify the functional specifications of a component, and then it mainly focus on designing and architecture. Again, it mainly focus on product implementation. So it's a right mix of a customer usages. Uh, these are all the points which will be carried out in designer architecture verification. Okay. And the next one is business vertical testing. It's a main important testing using and testing the product different business verticals such as insurance, banking, assets management, and verify the business operations and usages. It's just to carry out what are the opponent companies are there which is related to our project. So these are the that is the main thing in business vertical testing. And then it carry out some important aspects are customization, terminology, and syndication. What's customization means? In different business verticals to carry out the process. So customization means it is to modifying a particular task. So that is we call it as a customization. And the next one is a terminology. It is used for online transactions, particularly business communication. Nowadays, online transaction is a very developing one. No, so that's a terminology. It is also one of the aspects in business vertical testing. And the next one is syndication. It is done by product development organization. So it transfers something to any group of an organization. Syndication is nothing but it is to transfer the data or transfer the informations to any group of some other organizations. So that is we call it as a syndication. It is tested through some scenarios. Okay. And then next one is a deployment testing. Deployment testing, it is conducted after the release of a product by utilities of a resources. So deployment testing is a final stage of a testing. It is done by two types. One is offsite deployment, another one is an on-site deployment. Offsite is done by the customer, deployment requirements are made. In on-site deployment, it carried out by the organization. Next one is beta testing. It is developing a product involves the amount of effort and time. Some of the reasons of a product not meet the requirements. So in beta testing, it is used by the user's environment to uncover any bugs or issues. So if we are checking a product means we can't get any errors or bugs. So if we are going to check a product in your customer environment means it may be occurs some of the defects. So what are the reasons means? It is an implicit and explicit requirements of a product. It may be an amount of a time because of high degree of ambiguity. So it may be correct, and the requirements may not be correct of a may be correct, but the implementations may be wrong. So lack of usability. These are all the these are all the aspects. Sorry, these are all the require. These are all the reasons when the project will not be project may not be good. Okay, and the next one is some of the challenges of beta testings are timing, motivating the customers with the proper communication, choosing number of beta customers. These are all the these are all the challenges which is faced by which is faced in beta testing. And then next one, final one is some certification, standards and testing for a compliances. So a product need to verify with a popular hardware or operating system database under the infrastructure pieces is a certificate testing. Okay, it is a product need to certify with hardware operating systems and databases like that. Okay, and then these are all the things occur. These are all the techniques in functional testings. Okay. Next, we are moving to non-functional testing. In non-functional testing, it is a type of testing to check the non-functional aspects of a project. So it involves testing of the product or quality factors. In functional testing, mainly focus on uh, functionality of a project. So in non-functional testing, it's mainly focus on a quality of a product. Okay. Some of the techniques of non-functional testings are setting up the configuration, coming up with entry or exit criteria, balancing and key resources, scalability testing, reliability testing, stress testing, and interoperability testing. These are all the techniques which is available in non-functional testing. So let's see setting up the configuration. So in setting up the configuration, it is the biggest challenge one. Uh, Two ways to set up a configuration by simulated the environment and real life customer environment. These are all the two ways to set up a configuration. And then in setting up the configuration, it is to identify how to configure the settings. So how to configure the settings means it is by simulated environment and real life customer environment. System simulated environment is where the project will be developed. So real life customer environment means where the project will be implemented. So that's the difference between simulated and real life customer environment. And then next one is what are the challenges facing by setting up the configuration means it is to predict the type of what type of environment. It's a combination of an environment. It's how the cost will be made, and the cost may be reduced or decreased, and then compacting the company's skills. What are the nature of data? The data may be wrong, it cannot be predicted. So these are all the challenges faced by setting up the configuration. And the next one is coming up with entry or exit criteria. Meeting the entry criteria is the responsibility of the previous test spaces, and then it is also to call the another criteria critical factors. So it is mainly entry or exit criteria. It is mainly focused on the responsibilities of the testing phases. So previous test phases also be carried out for entry and exit criteria. So next one is balancing key resources. Four key resources are CPU, disk, memory and network. Computer requires equal attention for the quality factors of a product. Balancing key resources, it's a main thing which is carried out in functional test non-functional testings. In every testing, we must need CPU, disk, memory, network, etc. Okay. And then next one is a scalability testing. It is to find out the maximum capability of a product. It may and also it measures the capability of a product, and also it uses it to find the maximum capacity of a project. Next one is let's take an example client server. How many client machines can simultaneously log into the server? So in a lab, server is server is a single system, and then through the server we can connect a number of systems. So that's an example of scalability testing. Next one is a reliability testing. It is done to evaluate the product ability, and it is to evaluate the product ability, and also it depends on the measures and its characteristics. That's a reliability testing. Example, queuing the database continuously for 48 hours and performing login operators in 10,000 times. The reliability of the product should not be confused with the reliability testing. Okay, these are the examples of reliability testing. And then next one is a stress testing. It is done to evaluate a system beyond the limit of a requirement of a resources, and then to ensure that the system does not break. So also to find out the product behavior. It helps to understand how the systems behave to underestimate a realistic situation. And then it is to evaluate the ability of a computer, hardware, or devices to maintain the certain level of effectiveness. Okay, and these are the things in stress testing. And mo- let's move to some reasons the product may not be recovered immediately. So in the transactions, we wait queue delaying the discovery. If I'm sending a money to someone means it will be in a queue process. So let's take few seconds or few minutes now. So that's a transaction fail. It's not a transaction failure, it's a transaction delay. Next one is rejected transactions need to delay the recovery. If I'm sending a money in my account, the amount will be debited, but the opponent person will not receive a money means, so it's a some network issue. So that's a so that is a rejected transactions. Okay. And the next one is due to failure, some operations are need by for the product delaying the recovery. Data structures may have been corrupted. So these are all the reasons why the testings will be uh, affected. Okay. Next one is some of the guidelines are repetitive test, uh, ex, repetitive test, concurrency, magnitude, random variations. These are the guidelines in stress testing. It executing the repeated test to ensure that all the times of the code work has an expected. Second one is concurrency. It code is exercised with multiple paths simultaneously. So that means multiple actions or happens at the same time. Next one is magnitude, amount of loads applied to the product of a stress of the systems. That means it's how much of amount will be applied to the product. Next one is a random variation. It depends on increasing or decreasing variable load. So it is a process mainly caused by irregular situations. So these are all the things in random variation. Thank you.